Hey Nigel, thanks for joining me. Thank you so much. I know you're very busy.
Thanks. No worries, man. I look forward to this, and I've been a fan of your comedy for a long time. So
Thanks, man.
thanks for asking me.
So right now, the thing that struck out to me is that you're currently in Sweden. What are you doing in Sweden right now?
So my podcast co-host, I have my own podcast. It's called Rise to Meet You, and my co-host Evelyn Mock, she is from Sweden, right? So, she has some TV filming stuff to do, and I realized, recording podcasts in person is more fun than recording podcasts over Zoom. So I
Yes.
said, yeah, might as well come because there isn't that much live comedy going on in London right now. I
Oh, I
usually live in London.
see.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, let me come with you. So I just packed all my equipment, podcasting equipment, camera equipment, came to Sweden, and hopefully also try to find some time to film an Uncle Roger video. So yeah, I just came here for Evelyn.
It is quite insane and surreal for a Malaysian to hear that you in London can travel to Sweden because we're all locked down, even with the relaxed MCO for the past few months. How come you can travel? I'm just curious.
Why people don't care about the virus as much as Asians do? I thought, okay, London already they're pretty lax compared to Malaysia. I mean, that's why you guys, I mean, we are so successful back home to contain the virus because you have like you land in Malaysia, 2-week quarantine, they put you on a bus, go straight to a hotel, 2-week quarantine, right?
Yes.
You land in London Heathrow Airport, you put your name and address down, and then they tell you to do a 2-week quarantine, and that's it.
That is, man, Nigel, that to me is insane how differently the two countries are handling this COVID-19 thing. Anyway.
You think London's bad, and then Sweden, I come over here, I have a face mask on the train, and people look at me weird. Nobody else wears one. So now I'm like, okay, I don't want to wear one anymore because I feel really self-conscious. People just stare at you.
Wow.
You wear a face mask in Sweden.
Just get COVID to fit in, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've watched your Uncle Roger videos. I have not watched any interviews you have done because I want to keep myself give myself a blank canvas. I'm going to ask you the simple, obvious questions. How did you come up with the character Uncle Roger? The reason why I love this character so much is that it's very authentic. It's it feels real to me, even though I know it's created, but I want to know how you came out with Uncle Roger.
I think personality-wise, it's quite similar to me. It's me without even more without a filter. You know, I don't know if you've seen any of my stand-up. I don't have that much on the internet, but I talk about like mainly as an Asian transplant in the West. I grew up in Malaysia, right? So I lived there 20 years, moved to the West for university and then work. So there's a lot of things that nobody talks about that I think in Asia we do it the better way, but nobody talks about it. So I have that indignation. I have a little bit of that anger, and I think it's personality wise, it's quite me. You know, a bit stubborn, a bit know-it-all. But the character lets me amp that up even further because then I can take it one step further because people know it's a character and they know it's a comedy skit, right? So the character itself, my podcast co-host, again, Evelyn, I work with her a lot, right? So she writes scripts and sitcoms and stuff. So one day she said, I wrote a character based off of you. His name is Roger, and he's a real estate agent. So that was the initial seed of the idea. Right. And during the podcast session, I forget which episode now, one of the older episodes of my podcast, I started taking this, okay, what would Roger do? How would he sell houses? You know, so I just do the very Asian Uncle Hagley way. Hi, yeah, very small, but it's okay. The price very good, you know, something like that. And thank you for saying it's authentic, you know, because I think that's why a lot of Malaysians resonated with it. And from the little details, you know, sitting with the leg on a chair, you know, I grew up sitting like that sometimes, right? You go to Kopitiam, you see the Kopitiam uncles, they all sit like that, right? And they all have that same attitude, you know, the Kopitiam uncles, they're funny, but they're sassy.
Yes.
A bit of a know-it-all, right?
Yes.
They all have that attitude. So yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that because I worked really hard. And in terms of attire, I also asked a lot of my Malaysian friends, my Asian friends, send me a picture of your dads, you know, and it's always like the baggy, very practical clothing, and of course the belt phone case. So I like to think it's very well researched based on based on the research I've done and also based on my own life experience. So thank you, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really great. And what I love about the character is you know, not just that it's indignant and angry, as you say, but knowing that you're a stand-up comedian, you have managed to infuse the character with some fucking great jokes, man. Oh, it's
Thank you.
absolutely hilarious, man. I just to refresh my memory, I just watched the video with Jamie Oliver. And then when Jamie Oliver says, you can hear the sizzling. And then you say, Uncle Roger can hear my ancestors crying. That's hilarious. Oh,
yeah,
man.
thank you.
Oh.
Thank you. Yeah, I think as a comedian, it's a good skill to have when you want to produce anything funny, because I think as a stand-up, that skill translates to any medium. You know, you get that sense of rhythm. You get what good writing is. You get timing, pacing, all that stuff. So I think I'm happy. Thanks for saying that. And I think that sets me apart from a lot of other YouTubers who never had any live experience. They don't really have like that sense of rhythm that we have.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because the thing, not recently, I mean, 2-3 years ago, I feel like an old uncle whenever I pick up on certain YouTubers or social media content creators who, in their efforts to reach a larger audience, especially in Malaysia, right? They will put on, or they will amp up their own Manglish Malaysian accent, like, to sound real, like what like that, and they sound retarded, right? And I was so upset by this, and I said, look, our accent is charming and familiar, but when you put it on steroids, it just sounds retarded, and so and the reason I think a lot of these content creators, they do these kind of videos, and they put on this accent, is because they don't know how to write jokes. They don't know how to put comedy into their videos. So their videos is a lot of them shouting and amplifying everything, because they don't know how to, like, photography, light and shadow, light and darkness. You got to play with both. So when you, as Nigel Ng, can write jokes, you can allow the video to breathe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of the stuff, people don't get a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. With every video I make, I have a writing session with Evelyn, like the Jamie Oliver one. If you're talking about that, I had a line that I'm really proud of, that his rice so wet, you can see a reflection inside. When Mulan sees this rice, he's gonna start singing when she sees this rice. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And that is a kind of joke you can hear on like Rose Battle, like that the rhythm is there, the structure is there. So it's these little things that people think, oh my God, this character is so funny. He's just off the top of his head. It's like, no, it's a lot of work went into it.
Yeah. So you have brought up a good point, which I want to emphasize again, is that you have, and to all those who are watching this, mark this, all right? Nigel has a writing session with another writer before he goes to tape the video.
Yep.
So it's not, freaking spontaneous, like, oh, look at me, I'm off the cuff. No, man. And knowing the process, Nigel, I'm sure when you have a great script, whatever, it doesn't mean it's all one take, right? You will fuck up here and there and then retake again, right?
If you see my full video, the raw video, I look really stupid.
Even when I do my the all day show with no budget, it's like the whole thing is like 1.5 hours, of me fucking up, and then when I cut it down, just 10 minutes. It's like all that work for 10 minutes. I first heard of you actually in I want to say last year. And this is a big sin actually, but I only heard of Nigel Ng from Malaysia when they were saying that they were going to cast you in the this year's Melbourne International Comedy Festival, and I was looking forward to your work, and then of course something happened, and then that didn't fall through. Can you tell us a bit about your background as a stand-up comedian? Because that's what a lot of people don't know, that you're just a YouTuber, but it's not. You're a stand-up comedian first.
Yeah, I started doing stand-up in 2011. But I was shit for so many years. I don't think I have a lot of natural talent. It's all like trial and error until don't do that, 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 don't do that. So it took a lot of years to build that up. And when you start doing stand-up, okay, my life story, I grew up in Malaysia for 20 years, and then in 2010 I went to the US for university somewhere near Chicago. And then 2015 I moved from Chicago to the UK for a woman, and but we're not together anymore.
All right.
But I guess it's also for stand up because that woman I was seeing was European, so it's easier for us to stay in the UK, and work it out there. So I started doing stand up freshman year, first year of university in the US, 2011. And when you start, it's I only got to perform once a week because I was new. I was treated like a small
Yes.
hobby. You have friends that come see you, and it's like you don't really get better because you have like false feedback. Your friends are like, "Oh, that was
Yes.
amazing, yeah."
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, so it took me maybe 3 or 4 years. Then I started going down to Chicago more to perform. Yeah, then I came to the UK and then I started getting paid more. I was like, okay, I think I can make this a career. So I started in 2011, but I only went full time last year in September.
Oh,
And
congrats, man.
yeah, 2 years ago I still had a part-time job, and then last year
Right.
September full time. Thank you, appreciate it.
The
That's my background.
yeah, when you were where do you grow up in Malaysia? I'm just curious.
KL, Jalan
Nice.
Ipoh.
Jalan Ipoh
Zhonghua.
boy.
Zhonghua
Right.
Duzhong, Zhonghua Duzhong.
KL boy. So okay, we will get this a lot, right? So how did your parents? It's so nice to ask the comedian this question now instead of being asked the question. How do your parents feel when you went full time as a comedian?
They were very worried lah, They was like, especially during COVID. Even before COVID, they were like, okay, stand up is just you can do it at night, and in the daytime maybe you can do a part-time job because you have so good technical skills. We can do. I used to be a data scientist, right? So they're
Yes.
like, oh, you can do programming. Why don't you just keep that and do stand up at night?
Nice.
But I don't really get that the stand up. It's if you want to be good at it, it consumes a lot of your life. The travel, like the writing, and then the admin stuff. So I wanted to devote more time to it. And I realized I was still young. I had no attachments. So I was like, this is the time to take a risk, And I was like, yeah, I listened to one of your interviews too. And you were like, okay, you gradually kind of take a calculated risk. You started making more from stand-up. And you're like, okay, I can step back from this job, So that was exactly the route I take. And that's, I think, if you have Asian parents, I think that's the only route you can take. You can't just be like, sorry, mom, I'm going to be a stand-up comedian tomorrow,
Yeah.
So,
it's all a calculated risk, and because we're Asians, we know how to do math properly.
Yes. We can do projections, financial projection.
So, another one of my friends who was supposed to be our castmate on Comedy Zone Asia is Sam C.
Great. Yeah, he's great.
I felt heartbroken for the guy because he was hustling. He managed to get in, and then this fucking COVID thing happened. How did you feel about not being in the MICF? Not because you're not in, you were in, but it just couldn't happen.
I was bummed, man. I thought Melbourne. I was so looking forward to Melbourne. I know there's a lot of Asian people there. The food scene there is amazing, and food is very important to all Asians, I think. And I was gonna be.
You can make tons of Uncle Roger videos, man.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. Yeah. But the thing is, Uncle Roger didn't exist there, so it's a kind of a blessing in disguise. This COVID thing it forced me to evolve, and I evolved. And Uncle Roger was born because I had more time to work on content, right? So I guess it's a little bit of a silver lining there. But I was really bummed, and at that moment, that was in March, right? So when I got that canceled, that was a decent chunk of my income for this year. As a live performer doing Melbourne, they were covering the accommodation and flights, and I was getting paid too. So. It made me freak out a little bit because I lost my mainstream of income. Really bummed. And hopefully, I don't know yet about next year, but whenever it comes back on, I would love to do it.
Yeah. It's an amazing experience, and I think I'm really excited for you to actually go there and do it proper, because I can share this with you. When I first did it, it really opened my eyes to how big of a world stand-up comedy is. Because when I first started, you're just like in KL, and then sometimes we travel to Singapore and to Hong Kong. But once you get into the MICF, man, there are 600 shows a day. You know what I mean? A day in the whole city. And then what we do is we perform our show, then we go and watch other people's shows. And the stuff that is in Melbourne it's insane. It's mind-blowing. Comedy of all different types is represented: sketch, musical, duo, group.
And
insane
the worst improv. That's improv.
But you know what's weird? The improv that we see, that I saw in the festival, is really like high quality. Like these guys know their shit, no? Like, so it's so tight and so technical. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're going to be there one day, man. If not next year, year after that.
Hope so. And
Yeah.
I know actually funny story. We actually crossed paths briefly years ago when I just started stand up 2011. I went back to Malaysia. Velvet Underground. I did an
Yes.
open mic. I did 2 open mics there. One went good. The other one I completely bombed. And you were at the one I completely bombed at.
Holy
So
shit.
I remember meeting you, but you don't remember meeting me for good reason. For good reasons.
Oh, I
2011.
met 2011. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I was like 3 months into comedy. I had all that delusion because in the US it's just friends coming to see me and oh, you're so funny, and then I go back to Malaysia and it's like a neutral crowd. It's like, oh fuck.
Could you give me this is mind blowing. I met you in 2011. Okay, could you give me a sample of the joke you told? That do you remember the joke?
Oh man, what did I think I was going through a phase where I was just ripping off Mitch Hedberg, you know? So
Yes.
it was just very yeah,
Yeah.
something
Oh
like
my
that.
god, that's you.
I remember the lineup. Kwa Jen Han was on. He crushed. You were on. You had a joke about like Asian moms eating tiger penis or something. Yeah. And then who else was on? Alfred Lowe was on.
Yes. Holy shit.
And yeah, it was terrible. It went so bad. But I should have blocked that out of my memory. But you know, it happened. I mean, everybody bombs, so I don't give a shit anymore. It's just funny to talk about to other comics about your bombing experience. You know.
Yeah, we briefly crossed paths. Oh, that's amazing, man. So Velvet Underground has shut down.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was at the time one of the best venues for comedy. So that's pretty insane that you were there.
Yeah.
So now that you are, I mean, by the way, what was your YouTube channel's growth like? Because right now it's like 2 million subscribers, which is insane for any YouTuber or / comedian. How did that growth come about, and how do you feel about it?
So right now it's at 1.9 mil, not 2 million. Hopefully soon.
You just round up.
But, yeah, okay, can. My goal for YouTube this year was to hit 10,000 subs. Seriously. So I started this year with like 5,000-6,000. I'm like, okay, 10,000 this year. That's gonna be amazing. That would have doubled my subscriber base. So when I hit 10,000, okay, so it was growing nice, slowly but steadily. You know, like maybe a couple hundred every now and then, that kind of thing. So I was confident I could hit 10,000 by year end. It's a realistic goal. And then so Uncle Roger came about, I started doing short clips of Uncle Roger, first on TikTok, Instagram, 40-second clips just to develop the character. Because on the podcast, we had 3 characters, but people only liked Uncle Roger. So I started using Uncle Roger. Yeah, it's a trial and error, right? So I did Uncle Roger on TikTok. That blew up on TikTok. I was like, holy shit. Okay, this character has something here. I need to explore this. Let's make a longer video. Let's make it for YouTube. So the first video was the BBC egg fried rice one.
That exploded.
Thank you. Yeah, first 2 weeks was okay. I was getting like nice views. Like, 20,000 views in 2 weeks. Yes, amazing. I'm very, very happy. And I hit 10K subs. Yes, amazing. Then Reddit picked it up. Facebook picked it up. Twitter picked it up. Daily Mail picked it up. The Star, Sinchu, Jitpo, you know, in Malaysia picked it up.
Yeah.
Philippines, Singapore, everywhere picked up. Holy shit. And it just blew up big.
Any country that has rice.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Everywhere. I was in, I think the biggest publication I was in was Variety.
Wow.
You know, I have a whole article about me in Variety, which is crazy to think about because that's like, you know, you see like Leonardo DiCaprio, then Uncle Roger. What?
That is amazing, man. So I know when you hit 100,000 subs, you get like a silver plaque, right?
Yes.
And then
yes.
when you hit 1 million, what do you get a blowjob or something? What does YouTube give you, man?
I wish you got a gold plaque.
Nice.
And what my growth was so fast. Sorry.
No.
My growth was so fast that I crossed 1 million before I even received my silver plaque. Yeah, it was insane because silver plaque. Then they review your channel, make sure it's all above board, and then by the time they say, "Oh, we have mailed out your silver plaque," I'm like, already 1 million. You know, so that it was insane and not replicable. So I'm just very, very. I feel very lucky. I just very blessed and very, very grateful.
I think by this year, when they release the top 10 influencers or whatever YouTubers, I think you definitely be in the top category, or if not the first.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sure.
What's interesting is I feel that there is that whole white people telling Asians how to cook Asian food. That kind of sentiment, to it. That whole like how can you teach us how to cook our own food? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you get it in your comments or your fan messages, or that seething anger?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, and I feel a lot of times when people talk about this, they use terms like this term cultural appropriation, which is such a loaded academic term, and it's correct, it's very accurate, but it's also super not funny. Can you imagine going on stage and then, like when I go on stage, I do talk about cultural appropriation, but I never say that two words because that just turns people off instantly. It becomes like, okay, now I have to think. Fuck, I came out to have a good time. Now I have to. This becomes a TED talk, So I think as a comic, I try to talk about it by showing instead of telling, right? So
Yes.
in my whole set, you'll never hear me say the words cultural appropriation. But the Uncle Roger video, I think part of the reason it took off is because yes, it touches on those topics in a lighthearted, funny way. So that's why if Uncle Roger came out and say, today we talk about cultural appropriation, like people would just click out. Ugh, so boring.
Right. Yeah, that is absolutely interesting. And the first video with the Auntie Harsha, right? Harsha Patel.
Harsha Patel, yeah.
So the follow-up was quite sweet, where you guys met up. How did you? I mean, there has to be a little initial tension diffused situation before you can collaborate, right? So how did that come about? How did that collaboration come about?
So when things started to pick up and the video started to gain a lot of views, I was like, ooh, I hope Harsha, this lady, never finds out, because I don't know if she has a good sense of humor, what she thinks, and if she's getting a lot of hate mail, which she did in the beginning. Then one day she messaged me on Instagram saying that, hey, first of all, I thought your video was really funny and I really enjoyed it, but I'm getting a lot of hate. So would you mind if we met up and talked about this, and also try to address the people who are, coming at me, because it's been really, it's been tough for me. I was like, oh shit. But she was very, very nice. And we met up. I bought her dinner because I felt bad. And we got along. Yeah.
To Harsha, if you're watching this, trust me, he doesn't feel bad at all. You gave him 1 million subscribers. He doesn't care about your feelings.
Hey, I gave her some stuff too, so it's a mutually beneficial thing.
Fair enough, right? Okay, so you bought a dinner and then?
I went to a vegan restaurant too. So what sacrifices, such a sacrifice I made.
Oh.
But it was all good. We met up, and yeah, she was great, very friendly, great sense of humor, and we were thinking, okay, how do we use this to our advantage, right? It's one thing to just kind of shut down and ignore and wait for it to blow over, but it's another thing for her, and I a lot of respect for her that she wants to say, okay, how do we address this and try to make something entertaining and turn this around, which she did very well. So we let's do a collab. The whole world wants to see this at that point. The whole world wants to see this. So we made that video. We filmed it. I edited it, and then we set it as a YouTube premiere. And then at one point, I think the highest point, there was like 35,000 people watching the premiere at the same time, which is insane.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, I think she handled it really well, and I think I think we are mates now, and we will. Nice. I think we'll try to make collab videos once a month or something. Yeah. So, she's great.
Yeah, it was really nice because normally these kind of things don't end so harmoniously. It always ends a bit acrimoniously, right?
Yeah.
So your other video, the Jamie Oliver one. So I didn't do any research around. I've watched the video already, but I didn't do any research around the video. Did Jamie's people get in contact with you or whatever?
Nope. Zero. I don't think he liked it. I think his reputation, even in the UK, people say he's a little bit like, takes himself a bit too seriously. So he didn't reach out at all. Gordon Ramsay did. So Gordon Ramsay left a comment. He retweeted me. Yeah. And then he got his people from his studio to reach out saying good job and, jump on a call to see how we can work together more. So Gordon has a good sense of humor. And Jamie doesn't.
Yeah. It's so weird that the guy who did the nasi goreng properly has the sense of humor.
Yeah, it's so great that the guy who yells and is always angry and says cusses a lot on TV, that's the guy who's funny and he likes my work.
So okay, another question which I did ponder about. So now that your YouTube career is skyrocketing, and do you feel that you will be transitioning a bit from stand-up comedy, or will that always be your first love?
I think it'll always be my first love, man. And yes, I might have to start doing fewer shows per week. So, but I'll try to make sure that the shows I do maybe like make it so it's like longer stage time. So I still get the same amount of time and practice in. I just have to be more strategic about the shows I do now. So I don't think now I can no longer travel 2 hours to do like a 15-minute spot somewhere, because at that time can be better spent like filming, coming out with videos, editing, that kind of thing. But one of my goals for the future is to tour. And I think social media is a great way to build that fan base who will come out to see you. So I started doing all this content so I can tour. And yes, it has blown up, and it's a decent source of income for me, especially in this pandemic, right? I'm just grateful to have any source of income. So.
Yeah. Any money, please, just whatever,
Yeah. I'm just grasping at any straws I can get. But yeah, I think when the pandemic is over, find a vaccine or whatever, I want to go back to doing stand-up, doing more new material nights, maybe booking out shows here in London where it's like 60 minutes of me working out stuff from my a show for my tour. And yeah, it will always be something I do. The stage is just so different, man. You feel that rush of laughter. You feel everything. It's all the emotions. So it's so intense. Like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes under a spotlight, and all the eyeballs are on you. And there's no editing. There's no you fuck up if you fucked up. There's no way to like you flub a line. Okay, pause. Say it again. There's no such thing there. And my most recent video, I don't know if you saw, but I worked at a food truck. And because I put it on my Instagram stories that said, we're filming a new Uncle Roger video at this food truck. So if you're free, come by. And a lot of my fans showed up. And so I was telling them like what lines to ask me, what questions to ask me. So they'll come and order. I'll try to be funny. And then you could hear the people laughing in the background. And that felt good. It felt like almost felt like stand-up. And when I was filming that, I was like, yeah, this is what it's about, man.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, and then again, it's like the skills you acquire as a stand-up comedian really helps in doing all these videos and stuff. And I was gonna ask you, like, you mentioned your working out show where you do 60 minutes and you try your new. Have you done that before in London?
Yeah, I've done a few, but not that many, because ultimately you still have to be able to sell tickets under your name. So if I always do 60 minutes, I didn't have a big enough fan base yet to kind of to have the luxury of just, let me just pounce about on stage. Half the stuff won't work, but it's okay. You guys love me enough to keep watching. So yeah, before you really have a fan base, every show is like, okay, I got to win some fans. I got to convert them. I got to do well, And then when I did new material stuff to try out jokes, it's maybe like short 10-minute spots, 15-minute spots where I do half old, half new. But now maybe I have the slight luxury of being able to, this is going to be new material. It's not going to work, but please come and just, help me out here.
Yeah. I think in 2018, that's when I first did my first, I call it trial shows, where I do like, it's an hour of me doing new stuff, and I charge only at 10 ringgit per ticket. And I do say at the front that, hey, I'm going to try new material. Everything is new. If you don't like it, don't complain, because it's only 10 ringgit. You guys just pay 10 ringgit, right? But the problem is sometimes these people, they pay 10 ringgit, but I guess the Malaysian audience is not even used to the idea of seeing a comedian try out new stuff. Like when they come for an hour show, they think it's going to be great. And then when I fumble or fail, I still feel very shitty, even though it's only 10 ringgit. What the fuck, Yeah.
I don't think that shittiness will ever go away, even for free shows.
Yeah,
like nobody's paying anything. I still feel. You always feel shit when a joke bombs, right? It's your creation. It just
it's like your baby dying.
Yeah.
I remember someone telling me what Ronnie Chang said to him, and like, how do you come up with material? And Ronnie said, hearsay allegedly, that he rents out a room in Melbourne, like a small stage, and he does 10 nights, 10 shows. And after 10 shows, he will eat shit for 10 shows, and then by the end of the 10 shows, he has 1 hour. You have to eat shit to get the gold.
Yeah, but I don't know. I probably need more than 10 shows. I think Ronnie's
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
insane. He's so good. So 10 shows is all he needs to do an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably need like 50 shows, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The would you ever like come back and tour in KL?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was there last year. I did Joke Factory last year. I did
Okay.
Mary Lion. Yeah. I think it was nice. Sold it out. My parents saw me for the first time, and because
Wow.
and it was a bit nerve wracking because they were there, and also because they actually laugh at my Uncle Roger stuff more because Uncle Roger I speak slower, more of an Asian tinted accent, not fully Malaysian because I need to make it like quite international, right? But it's an Asian sounding accent, and they
Yes.
get it more. I saw an Insta story. My sister took an Insta story of my mom and dad on the couch watching my egg fried rice video and laughing, and I just felt I cried when I saw that. I was very touched because when I do stand up on stage, I sound like this, which is very neutral. It leans
Yes.
Western. The accent leans Western. So to them who don't speak English that well, they're not used to hearing it, so they don't really get the jokes. And my dad was like, yeah, when I see other people laughing, I'll just laugh.
Wow.
So I didn't really understand anything you said.
Yeah, you know what's weird? Speaking about accents, right? This is from early days when I performed at Laugh Factory in LA, and then Laugh Factory, what they did is every comedian that comes on stage, they will record your whole set. They record the whole show, then they put clips on it on their YouTube channel.
Yeah, I've seen your clip, Power Rangers, right?
Yeah, right, Power Rangers, and also the one about the blind girlfriend. And if you look at the comment section, bro, the comments are so weird because there'll be people saying, why does this guy have an Indian accent? Why does this guy have a Jamaican accent? Why does this guy have an African accent? It's like the Malaysian accent, it's so neutral that people can they can imprint their own impressions on the accent.
I think it has elements of everything. Like here African people speak some of the cadences.
Yes.
Is similar to us.
Yes.
And then Indian people, the typical Indian from India accent, we have some of that cadences too. So
yeah,
they're just picking up whatever they're familiar with and then labeling
exactly.
it as that. Yeah.
The what's interesting about the Uncle Roger accent is that to my ears it sounds like a Hong Kong accent. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think it's majority that, but I try to have some like Malaysian slang in there. I think the Hong Kong accent is quite universal, and I think has the most comic potential. You grew up in KL. You hear a lot of people speak Cantonese in KL. So even their English has a bit of that Canto Hong Kong accent infused in it already, versus like a Malay person speaking English, right? So I grew up around those the Cantonese speaking people, so it came more naturally to me. And yeah, the Hong Kong accent is also it allows you more freedom because I think the tonal variation is really big and you can drag out words.
Yeah.
So it works.
You have really popularized Haya. It's damn funny, bro.
Yeah.
Haya and then I think which video was it? You explained how Fuyo is the opposite of Haya. That's that funny, bro. It's just the simplest things makes it so funny,
Thank you. And I grew up saying Haya all the time,
right?
So it's such a fun word to say, and it felt nice because you come to the Western world, you have to remove all these little colorful language things, otherwise people don't understand you.
Yeah.
So it felt nice to be able to reclaim some of that,
My goal in my comedy career, now that I've watched your videos, is I want to popularize the word chibai. I think chibai is one of those words which captures everything. And although it's meant to mean vagina or cunt, it really it has taken on a whole other meaning that is nothing remotely connected to the vagina. It's something else.
And call your friends jibai,
Yeah, like when I when I hear or when I myself say the word cunt, I do think I do think of vagina, or when you say the guy's a dick, you think of him as an actual dildo. But when I use the word chibai, nothing. It's a whole ethereal, ephemeral meaning to it, which is nothing to do with any part of the body.
Yeah, try it, man. Good luck. I hope you pull it off. Then I can use it all the time too.
Yeah, man. So what's next what's in the pipeline for Uncle Roger? I mean, it has taken a life of its own. And yeah, I'm just curious, what's next for Uncle Roger? Podcast, sitcom?
Well, podcast is always going to be there as myself. Uncle Roger sometimes makes an appearance. You know, I introduce him to the pod sometimes. But I think what's next, short term, I just keep making YouTube videos, one a week, every Sunday. I put it out now, either until I burn out or I need to take a break. Then I'll take a short break and hopefully I'll come back, because YouTube is, there's a lot of freedom with it. And I don't know, I think for some people, it really works for some people because I'm like everything. I'm the writer, director,
Yes.
producer, videographer sometimes. I set up the sound, set up the lights, all that stuff. And I really like that. I think I've always been a generalist. So I like having a piece of control over every aspect of the production. In terms of long-term stuff, who knows? I hope maybe I can turn this into a series on one of the major streaming platforms, you know, Netflix or something. That would be nice. I'm not in talks with them, but I'm talking to some production companies, but everything's like still up in the air. Nothing's certain yet. But if they like the character, they like the idea, and if they're gonna give me creative control over it, that's another thing, because this character ultimately is an Asian character for Asian people. So if say a white producer steps in and says, "Oh, I want you to say this and this and this," then it becomes, I don't like that. You know, it's a character. It's not a stereotype, but it's a character. That's fully fleshed out character. So I want to have creative control over it. So long term, I don't know. Maybe my goal it would be nice to have like a movie, like, you know, Borat, but Uncle Roger. So fish out of water style, but an Asian uncle.
Yeah, I think you definitely can pull it off. It's definitely doable. You said something which is very interesting when you said it's an Asian character for Asia, and I'm not trying to question the creative process, but I was watching this sitcom on Netflix called Man Like Mobin.
Yes, UK based. I know the guy who made it. Yeah.
Gus Khan, right?
Gus Khan, yeah,
Now,
very funny.
So the character again is the character of Mobin is so authentic. It's so how to say, the character's Pakistani, am I right?
Some kind of South Asian. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not too familiar with the show.
But because it's so authentic and grounded in that area, that locale and that culture, that even I, as a non-Pakistani who I don't live in small heath, whatever, I find it so funny, and it relates to me so well, you know. And I thought to myself, my God, we can make a sitcom that is really grounded in Malaysia without someone else saying, "Oh, you should dilute it for white audiences." And what I'm trying to get at is, I think, I'm sure you have realized it yourself, that Uncle Roger, I feel at its most Uncle Roger, it can be funny to white people also. You don't need another white guy to tell Uncle Roger how to be Uncle Roger, just like how we don't need a white guy to tell us how to fry rice.
Yeah. Exactly. That I mean, you hit the nail on the head exactly. So as long as the character is authentic enough, like, everybody will get it. You know, when white guys do their white humor, and if it's done well, we get it. When we watch a Bill Burr special, we get it. But Bill Burr is not writing trying to say, okay, how do I make this so it pleases Asian people as well? Right? Yeah. He's writing, I just want to be funny. So that's what I want to do. I don't want to write Uncle Roger video. How can I make Uncle Roger so it appeals to white people? I don't care. It's his world. I want to express his world in his very Asian world, very Asian worldview, and people will get it, you know?
It's so, you know, when you say stuff like this, like, you know, his world fully fleshed out and the words like fully express him, it sounds like what an actor or a writer would say, but you don't have that background, right? You're a data scientist. You know, all that that entire wavelength of science, and then but you somehow manage to understand the artistic concept. Do you think this inherently a talent or something that you've always wanted to do?
I don't think it's inherently a talent. It's more, you know, as I do stand up more and more, you know, when I first started out in stand up, I was very self-conscious, you know. I didn't do that many Asian things because I was like, oh, nobody will get it. But as the years went by, the more I express these Asian things, it's both. People can sense that it's authentic and I really feel these things. And two, I've learned how to talk about things that might be foreign to white people. I've learned how to talk about it in a more compelling manner. Yeah. And I realized, as long as you're compelling and funny enough, you can talk about anything. So that's just how I, you know, that's why I say the things about fleshed out a character, yada, yada, yada. But it's not from an artsy perspective. It's more just, you know, again, trial and error. I realized, if I express who I really am, then people get it. no matter who they are, where they're from, yada yada yada, that kind of thing. Yeah,
So I was reading your Wikipedia page also, and you spent a fair bit of time. I mean, you did stand up comedy very regularly in London, and then you appeared on Mock the Week and all the TV shows. How was it like being in the UK scene? Because I was always curious about that scene.
I think UK scene is good. There are a lot of really talented comedians. And yeah, doing those TV shows have been great. Good experience. I think I did well on them, which is nice. It's very such a relief because you're up with the like big guys. I was sitting next to Dara O'Brien, and you have to like hold your own against. Yeah. And you have to hold your own against him, and he's just like so off the cuff funny. He has stuff prepared, definitely, but he's off the cuff is also so funny. And he's been hosting that show for years now, so he has a level of comfort. The same way when you do stand up for years, you start to have that level of comfort, and then you get to be funnier. But my first time doing Mock the Week, I don't have that level of comfort yet. So I was like, okay, just keep saying stuff and hopefully it hits. It's been a great experience. I would say one thing about the UK TV shows is it's very hard to share it outside the UK. So yeah, I think for me, I've always been a more global act just because I grew up in Asia and I want to tour Asia, and I want to also hopefully tour America sometime because I lived there for a while too. I've always been a global act, so I know the UK TV isn't the end all. I'll do it, and it's really fun to do it, and it helps grow my profile in the UK. But for international stuff, I had to do my own thing. That's why I started doing the content.
How hard was it to start getting regular gigs in London, say?
Well, when you say gigs, if you include open mic gigs in there, then it's really easy because anybody can sign up for those. But if you want to say paid gigs, then the circuit here is still a lot easier than a circuit, say, in New York or LA, than the comedy scene in New York and LA in terms of getting paid stuff. I would say a lot of the comics here, they go full-time quite quickly. So I know people, an average like 3-4 years in, they go full-time, which is really fast, right? And I was like 8 years in before I went full-time. I was very like playing it safe and playing it slow. It's getting a bit harder now, I guess, because there's more people doing it. But yeah, to get to getting paid and living an okay life, if you have housemates and stuff, you can go full-time quite quickly if you're funny enough. Like 3-4 years, you can do it.
And I've always had this image that like the UK audiences are like rough and tough. Like, is that true? Do you find them to be a bit dry and hard to crack?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I think UK people in general, broad brushing here, they're quite reserved without alcohol. So when you go up first, that's when they're only starting to drink, and it's tricky. Going up first here, the difference between going up first and going up in the middle or last is so big. So it's good practice, because if you can nail it in as going up first, going up cold, then you got some good material, Right. And also a lot of the compares, the MCs here, they go up and MC in like at the first start of the show. They don't do any material. They just do crowd work a lot of the times. So when you go up, again, it's a gear change already from crowd work. Oh, it's all about the audience are thinking, oh, it's all about me. Amazing. Then the comic goes up. Okay, why is he talking about himself now? and coupled that with the fact that they're sober makes it, it's a bit tougher. I would say I find audiences in the UK a little bit tougher than audiences in the US. Compared to Malaysia, I've only gigged in Malaysia, like, including the Velvet Underground one, like 4 times. So I don't know. I can't really do the comparison yet. And I feel like every time I gig in a country that's very different from the country I usually gig in, I take like a 30% cut in funniness, only because some references won't work. I get self-conscious about what they'll get. But as I gig there, perform there more, if I perform in Malaysia more, I'll gradually recover my level of funniness to what I was in the UK. But I'm not there yet. So hopefully soon.
When I first performed in a very wide audience, that was when I first went to Melbourne. And immediately, like the bookers, the producers will tell you at the front that there are a lot of things which, is very PC, so you shouldn't say them or shouldn't touch on them. Like, for example, saying, don't say tits, say breasts. You know what I mean? Certain material shouldn't be done because you won't get the laugh. Race-based stuff is quite dicey amongst like the Melbourne crowd. Like it's the same, I guess, for you when you travel or perform in US, London, and
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, race-based stuff is dicey. I think you can get away with talking about your own race. But if you start doing in Malaysia, I see there are some people who do like Chinese people like this, Indian people like this. Oh, that's not gonna fly. That's not gonna fly.
yeah, it's so weird that somehow or other Malaysia and Singapore actually about the same composition, we can get away with doing that, and I always feel like it's because that's how we talk to each other by making jokes, because otherwise we don't talk about it in other like mainstream media, TV shows. We always brush aside the issue of race under the carpet so that everyone's happy, but only in a stand-up comedy show we have that refreshing dose of honesty.
Yeah. It's just every culture, every society has different sensibilities.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, okay, going forward, like when you start what's your strategy for touring? Like you said, you need like a huge fan base before you can start touring. In the US, do you have to have like your own? Do you have to be signed by an agent before you can properly do something in stand-up comedy?
I think it definitely helps, especially when it comes to the visa application. And yes, I've been signed to someone recently, WME. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but they're a pretty big US agency, and they're interested in me, so I decided to go with them. And I think in terms of strategy, in terms of the material, I just try to write stuff that's personal, that's good, that's really funny, and I hope it will translate to everywhere. And one good thing about gigging in London is that the crowd there is quite international anyway, so it gives me a good gauge of what material will fly across all over the world.
I mean, I really hope I can see you live in KL again, but I don't know when that will happen, man. You're barred from flying, right? You can't come into Malaysia, right?
I can. I just have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and that's a bit long, to be honest. Because I have all this freedom here to just walk around, and 2 weeks is a bit long. So I'm still considering. I go back once a year, every year, but this year I'm considering.
Yeah, it's insane that in Sweden that you're free to roam around with no mask. I mean, how many cases are there in Sweden right now?
I'm not sure. I don't really check. I think Swedes, when it comes to Europe, I think they're doing okay because Swedish people have a tendency to socially distance themselves anyway. They're not like the friendliest bunch. They have a sort of decorum almost. So I think, and they're very sensible, and they're also one of the healthiest nations in Europe. So I think they're coping okay here, even without a lockdown.
Oh, that's great to know, man. So your parents are here, and they have watched all your Uncle Roger videos. What do they feel about the character? Do they feel like, oh, you are basing it on us? Your parents, you're making fun of us actually.
My dad just takes credit for everything, he tells his relatives, oh, the Uncle Roger character based off of me one. I give him all the idea one, You see, I got belt phone case also. It's me. It's me. No. I should take some of his YouTube followers.
Take some of the money, royalty.
Yeah. And then he was like, my dad is a very like he very Chinese, right? So he's like, oh, you should go on Douyin, and then I actually had a Douyin account a long time ago, and then he saw me posting on Douyin and said, see what I tell you? Douyin good, right? I tell you go on Douyin, you go on Douyin, people like you there, see? My advice very good.
Your fans in London, do they mistake you as actual Uncle Roger?
I think in real life they know I'm not, and I'm playing a character, because when they say, oh, are you Uncle Roger? And then I speak like how I speak, and then they know it's a character. But when they recognize me, when they yell things out, they'll say Uncle Roger. That's the first thing that comes to mind when they yell out. Yeah.
You'll be surprised, man. If you come to KL, I guarantee you there'll be people who think your name is Roger. You can easily do that, man. Like one of my, I'm sure you know this guy, Kwa Jen Han. He
yeah. You guys were in MACC too. Yeah.
He once created this character called Rambo Tan. Rambo Tan is like this leopard skin wearing, sunglasses wearing, audacious, over the top character. It's like, hey, hello, babies. Like that, like flirty guy, which is quite the complete opposite of him. So there's one time where he was doing an actual stand-up comedy show, and he's like, oh, Kwa Jan Han, and opening act by Rambo Tan, right? So Rambo Tan comes on first, does the opening act, and then he goes backstage to it, and then Kwa Jan Han comes out, and his own auntie was convinced that they are two different people.
That's the mark of a good character, right?
Right.
That's the mark of a good character.
And,
Yeah.
and you know, in your YouTube comments, you see like some people like, huh? Oh, he's not Uncle Roger. They're disappointed that is not a real person.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is one of the things I have to be aware of. You know, if I want to have any sort of longevity to my career, I need people to like me also.
Yeah.
You know, because YouTube characters, you know, they'll last for like 3-4 years max. You know, there's a shelf life.
Yeah.
But me as a performer, as a comedian, there's no shelf life on me. So that's why I have the podcast, right? Where people come from me and hopefully get to like me also, as well as Uncle Roger.
Oh, so was the podcast like a reaction to the popularity of Uncle Roger, or was it did it predate Uncle Roger?
It predated Uncle Roger. We started it last year in October, so it's been a year now. Yeah, I think it's important to hit all the facets, right? I always wanted to do character-based comedy in social media, so I achieved that goal this year. But yeah, if you want to build a fan base of people who come to see you, whether or not you're playing Uncle Roger or, you know, as myself. So I think that's something I need to be aware of and be cognizant that I want people to like me too. So I want to post more stand-up stuff. I want to post more podcasts and videos of myself too.
This may only fascinate comedians and writers, okay? But what is your process like for making an Uncle Roger video? For example, like when you do, especially the ones where you reviewing a cooking video, what is the creative process?
Creative process. It needs to spark something in you. You know, the same way when you write jokes as a comic, you can joke about anything, right? But certain things you take notice of, and you're like, "Ooh, I want to talk about that." There's this instinct. There's this thing inside you that, you know, that you hone over the years. And you're like, okay, I think there's something funny in there. Yes. So when I watch a video and decide on a video, I'm like, okay, I think there's something funny I can talk about. There's something funny. I don't know what yet because I haven't written it. I'll think about it yet. But that kind of the initial instinct, very raw instinctual thing. Then I sit down and I start to draft some jokes. I think about the general arc of the video. That's another thing people don't see. Like the arc, like Jamie Oliver, if you notice, I started by saying, oh, Jamie is a professional chef, so many cookbooks. I'm sure this is going to be great. But as the video goes on, the arc is I get more and more disappointed. So that gives the video some sort of like through line, some sort of arc, right? That nobody notices, but I think it adds to the viewing experience. And the Gordon Ramsay video, completely different arc, the opposite. I was like, British chef again. Oh, he's gonna be shit.
Yeah.
Oh, fuyo, yeah, very good.
Yeah.
So I think, and hopefully, ideally, every video will have that kind of arc. But I think there are some videos that it's just gonna be like, you know, you can't shoehorn an arc in, right? So I think about the high level overview, and then I dive into individual moments in the video. What jokes can I say? I sit down and write together with Evelyn. Okay, what are they doing wrong? What I try to not just point out what they're doing wrong, but also have jokes about it. So like the Jamie Oliver rice so wet Mulan joke. If your rice too wet, you fucked up. You know, that kind of thing. Put my leg down from chair. These little funny moments like that. I try to write those things. Then I got all the stuff written down, all the beats I want to hit. Then I turn the camera on. The more prepared, the more written it is, the easier the filming goes. And then the more prepared I am, the better my riffs get too, because I have this confidence knowing, okay, that those written lines are really good. Let me just sort of riff a little bit now, and we'll see how it goes. So yeah, that's a process that
the green skin riff.
Yeah, thanks.
That
is an improvised thing. Yeah, thank you very much. And then
you broke in front of the camera. It's damn funny.
Yeah, I try to have a few moments like that because I don't like YouTube videos being too polished. You know, then might as well do something for TV, right? If it's so polished. So I like a little bit of charm. I think it adds a bit of charm to it. Yeah. Then the recording's done. Then I start the edit. I don't know if you edit yourself, but I first want to get like the rough cut, all the content beats there. Then I call it like the stylizations, the cuts, the zooms, the big head, the sound effects, the coloring, all that stuff. Then I whack it on. For every minute every minute of a YouTube video I put on, I spend at least 1 hour to an hour and a half per minute of YouTube video. So when it comes to like the actual post-production. So yeah, it's a lot of work trying to hire an editor who to help me out with some of the stuff. But yeah.
That is the first person I'm going to hire when I become more rich. When I have more money, that's the first fucker I'm going to hire, because I mean, as a comedian, I know that I need to know all this, right? I need to know how to shoot, edit, write, and produce and direct. But man, I tell you, the editing process is so painful, man. It's just.
And when you're editing, the video itself looks shit. So when you're editing, I feel like, I'm bombing. To me, I'm bombing because it looks terrible. There's long pauses. I'm stumbling over my words. And then even after the rough cut is done, I'm like, oh, this video is going to suck because there's no music yet. There's no jump cuts. It's so boring to watch. Yeah. Like, fuck. So the editing process is just you constantly self-doubt, self-hate, all that stuff. So I know what you mean, man. It's not just technically difficult. It's just also mentally draining because you see yourself being so unfunny on camera.
I was stuck in Seremban for like a good while, and the first few weeks of being stuck in Seremban, the internet was shit, and I only had my smartphone and my laptop, and and it doesn't have a lot of memory nor a dedicated graphics card, so every edit takes even longer. When you cut and join, then it takes a while to join. It takes a while to cut. So like it's even slower and slower.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the first person I'm gonna hire, man. Do you feel there is a need to hire like social media strategists, or are you your best social media strategist?
I think as the creator, you will care about it the most. I don't think you'll ever be able to hire someone unless you offer them a stake in your business. I don't think you'll ever get to hire someone who cares about your work as much as you do. So I would like to think I'll always have some sort of control over the high level strategy and direction I want to go in. And I think every creator should. I don't think it's that important. I think it's important to outsource as much of the work as you can. So it allows you to focus on creating as opposed to like repurposing takes up so much of my time. Repurposing, I mean chopping up a YouTube video to a square for Facebook and Instagram, to a vertical for TikTok. It's like I have someone who does that for me and posts them for me, so that saves me a lot of time, so I can focus on the writing and creating.
I think that's the most important part. But I think what is hard is not just getting a technically proficient editor, but an editor who knows you, who knows the timing, and that's so hard because there's no school for YouTube character comedy timing, right?
No. And I'm still struggling with that. I don't know who to hire. Do you want to hire an Asian editor so he gets the jokes? Do you want to hire someone who's edited a lot of stand-up before so he gets the comic rhythm? Yeah, it's still a nut I'm trying to crack. And that's why I work with Evelyn so well. She edits the podcast and she gets it. We're all on the same wavelength. Every time I hear her edits, I have no notes. I'm like, perfect.
Yeah.
So she's a very valuable asset to me. Yeah.
Speaking about editing, like I discovered, I think in can't remember which year it was. I think I did a set for, let's just say, a very well-known comedy brand, and it became very apparent to me that there is a thing called stand-up comedy editing. Okay, because when they shot the comedy special with a bunch of other stand-up comedians, and it was beautiful venue, nice setup, great crowd, talented comedians, great event. Everyone was the comedians were happy with how the event went. But when we saw the finished product, oh my Lord, they obviously do not know how to cut stand-up comedy. Like simple stuff like when the comedian is talking and then gesturing. When we are talking, it's a wide. When we gesture, it's a mid close-up.
Okay.
Then why aren't you going to the wide when I'm gesturing so you can see my hands? You know what I mean?
Oh, wow, that close. Oh, yeah, why?
Yeah. Why?
Agree. And because there's no way to learn, this is a creative process. It's not technical anymore. So I think videographers, the editors, they'll decide, okay, what f-stop to use, but then and I find one thing that bugs me too is a lot, even like like British TV, like Live at the Apollo, I think they do a weird job at like audio ducking. So I think they cut off the laughs too fast, or they
Yeah.
write the laughs up to the audio plays a big part as well. And it's a thing only comics will notice. Like, okay, the laughs sound very unnatural, even though the laughs are real, is recorded in that moment. The way they mix it in the video is a bit just a bit weirdly sounding. But as a comic, you know, the laughs, when the laugh starts, it starts fast, but it dies down slow, right?
Yes.
So if you have Premiere Pro has an automatic ducking feature. So when you start fast and end fast, then the laughs sound a bit unnatural. So to me, the audio, yeah, like you said, the camera work is a bit weird. You need experience to do it, and the audio as well. Yeah, I agree.
And the weird part is when they cut up small parts to promote the special, which is good, you know, you cut a little bit to promo. And what they did was they added, for no reason, they added text to the side of our faces. Like, for example, when I say, if you say like, oh, let's say the penis is so small, they to the side of my face, penis so small. And then they add the, you know, the classic YouTube, like the, what is this for? You know what I mean?
I think
I was
they're
like,
trying to make it more YouTubey and modern. But
it's like the very purpose of us doing stand-up is you don't need any more words. Just listen to what we say.
It's already funny. We don't need the edit. Don't need the editing. Just minimal editing is good. Yeah.
Pop. Yeah, we are fucking. You know, there's the ego inside. We're fucking funny already. It's just that's it. There's no need to, you know. Okay. Right before we had this interview, I asked some of my minuscule number of Twitter followers any questions that they would like me to ask Nigel. Some I've already addressed unknowingly, of course. Okay, how many orange shirts do you have?
5. I
No
bought
way.
a pack of 5 for 15 pounds on Amazon.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because I'm like, well, when it's in the wash, I don't want to have to wait for the washing to be done before I can record, right? So I need more than one. But then as you wash it, the color gets it fades. So I'm like, okay, I wash it a few times, throw it out. It's cheap, you know. It's like £3 a shirt. It's, you know, nothing special. So I just buy a pack of 5.
That is the most down to earth and Asian response to what this person clearly thought was a funny question. Okay, let's see. How to cook halal pork?
I don't think there's a way for that, man. I don't think I don't want to say. I don't want to say more. It's blasphemy.
Yeah, you can't. For my sake and yours.
Let's not get cancelled by Malaysia.
Yeah. Okay, I think this one's for the character. How much ang pao does he give to his niece during Chinese New Year?
I don't know. It depends how much I like you, I guess. You think people who are divorced, do they need to still give ang paos? What's the protocol?
I think they still do, but either it's not in an ang pao, not in a pao, or they just give it anyway. Because I have one or two, not divorced, but unmarried aunties and uncles who they just give money like in the, like bribery, like the smooth motion. My question, which I wanted to ask, was why is it that we married people have to give ang paos to our friends same age who are not married? Like, I need the money more.
Yeah, it's just tradition,
no
man. Yes.
Fuck you and your tradition. You unmarried fucker.
I think their lives are sad, you know. They gotta give them ang pao so they can find a mate and settle down. They can bring them to Ding Tai Fung and go on a date in Ding Tai Fung.
Okay,
Love that place, man.
This one's very interesting because I know I've seen photos of you without your shirt on. Please don't take them off now and make me feel bad. What is your workout routine?
I do calisthenics, so like body weight stuff. I do a lot of the gymnastic rings. I have a workout video. I have a video on my YouTube channel that's Evelyn narrates my workout video. That's as me, not Uncle Roger. So you can kind of see that's kind of the stuff I do. And I think I like it because it's fun. You're just swinging your body around in space and you're going upside down. And it's also efficient. It works a lot of your muscles at the same time. So, I mean, that's a serious answer. It's not funny. But that's what I do. I try to have a high-protein diet. And I would say it's a little bit easier to do that in the Western world compared to Malaysia, only because the food here isn't as good. So there's not as much incentive. You know what I mean? In Malaysia, when I go back, I always gain weight when I go back, man. Always, because the food is good. Like you can stop at a petrol station and then the roti canai next to it is still good. Everywhere you go, the food is at least decent. But in the UK, you have to actively seek out the good food. It's harder to come by. It's more expensive. So it's easier to eat healthy here.
Yeah.
So I would say if you're in Malaysia, sorry lah, but it's a bit harder to look ripped, I think.
Yeah, I spent 2.5 years in Dublin, and I agree, man. My God, the Irish food is by and large, it really sucks. That's why how we worked around it was we all have like potlucks where we go to each other's apartment. And the food we bring, bro, it's like a fucking feast in the middle of no man's land, man. I tell you.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised when I see fat people in the UK who are fat. I'm like, how do you get fat? Your food is shit. How? Fat Malaysians, I get that's us enjoying life, And then fat rich people, how? What are you eating?
Yeah. Jamie Oliver's fried rice, I think. This is a funny question in the way he phrased it, okay? Does he think, do you think you're perpetuating Asian stereotypes? And also, what brand of rice cooker do you use?
Wow, very serious and very inane question. Let's do the easy question first. Rice cooker brand, I use a Zoji Rushi, which I love. It's I think the best one out there.
Zoji, just Japanese?
Zoji, the Japanese elephant brand. You know the one is a small elephant?
No.
Zojirushi, Zoji Rushi.
Does it have some super powerful features, or why?
It's like I don't know. The quality is just so consistent, and it can make porridge, you can make rice, you can make brown rice. I only make rice and porridge really. I think it's just very, very consistent. And it's never let me down. Every batch I make, I can keep it warm for like a full day, and the rice is still perfect inside. Okay. So it just never let me down before. And as an appliance I use so much, I'm willing to splurge a little bit.
Okay.
You splurge on audio equipment and camera equipment. You go a little bit expensive, but saves yourself hassle and brain power. As for the stereotype question, I've answered this on other podcasts before because it's a very, very valid question. And I would say the stereotype stuff, the thing is, a lot of times we view, and this is more from a Western perspective, a lot of times people see someone doing an Asian accent and they get sensitive. They're like, okay, oh shit, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad. And because historically, when, white actors or white comedians or people who don't come from an Asian background, they do an Asian accent, they do the most, they don't paint us in a good light, right? It's always this wacky Asian character, big teeth, slanty eyes, that kind of thing. And I would say, to answer to that is no, I don't think I am perpetuating Asian stereotypes, and it passes my conscience because of, if you listen to the words I'm saying, everything is, one, very rooted in our culture and experience, and two, it's always very pro-Asian. Sometimes so pro-Asian that it's funny. The humor comes from me being so pro-Asian. I'm like, oh, rice is better than bread, It's so pro-Asian that it's funny, and everything is pro-Asian, like cultural appropriation of food, that is a thing that I address hopefully in a funny way. And the thing about MSG, about how it's a myth that it's bad for you, all that stuff. And I think from those videos, white people do enjoy them too. And when they watch it, they learn a lot of things about Asian culture that they'll never learn. I have a lot of friends reach out and say, oh, fuck, I've always washed my rice. I drain my rice with a colander after cooking. How else would you be able to, if you tell white people to go listen to a TED Talk on Asian culture, nobody's going to do that. But through these videos, yes, there's a bit of like that wacky Asian uncle persona, but through those videos, they're actually learning a lot about us.
Yeah, and it's so great because I'm thinking that not only not only are you educating white people about like Asian culture and more microscopically about how you should cook a certain dish like rice, fried rice, but it's so important to tell them what not to do. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if it wasn't for Uncle Roger, I mean Nigel, if there is no Uncle Roger video, there'll be literally thousands of white people putting fucking jam
Yeah.
in their fried rice,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah. Like
a crime.
they don't even know it's wrong. They just
Yeah.
think, oh, Jamie's doing it. It must be correct. Let's just try it. Let's break the tofu up.
Yes. Exactly. That's why I think that's so great because it's like and what you say is correct. Like if you, hey, let's listen to this professor tell you how you should cook
Yeah.
rice. It sounds so
About
boring.
let's
When you have
let's just do a TED talk about wok hei. Ugh. No. Who's gonna do that?
okay,
But
anyway.
I've let so many white people learn what wok hei is, and is to say that what I'm doing is a stereotype is such a disservice, to be honest, because how else will they even hear of the word wok hei, you know? I think
And
wok hei Google searches have just skyrocketed after the Uncle Roger videos.
before we go, you can please do plug whatever you want to plug, and I'll make sure you send me the links, and I'll make sure I put it in my YouTube video description. It's so weird because my subscriber list is 70,000. Yeah, 70,000. I hope you still know it's a very low number, but hopefully after this I'll get more views. So please.
Sure. Yeah, if you like if you want to check out my stuff, I have a YouTube channel where I post all my Uncle Roger videos. It's search Mr. Nigel Ng, MrNigelNG. That's my handles across all social media platforms: YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Just find me on all those platforms. Hope you check out the videos. I also have a podcast that's on all the audio podcast platform, also on YouTube. It's called Rise to Meet You. Where I host with a very funny Evelyn Mock, and it's just me being myself and just talk shit, you know. So yeah, search that Rise to Meet You podcast on YouTube and all the platforms. And yeah, hopefully, if wherever you are listening from, hopefully I'll come tour at a show near you after this pandemic blows over. So you can, if you want to know, just follow me on Instagram, sign up to my mailing list. There's a link on my Instagram in there that you can sign up, and then I'll let you know when I tour at a theater near you.
Yeah, and that's how you do a promo, guys. All the platforms, podcast, tour, city near you, mailing list. That's how you do it, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jason. Hope this is good. Bye.